not able to put my mind here.
You can.
It's not happening.
മണിക്കുട്ട നീ തിരിഞ്ഞു നോക്കുമ്പോൾ എനിക്ക് തോന്നിയത് ഒരുപാടുണ്ടെന്ന്. ആക്ച്വലി അതിനകത്ത് ഒരുപാടൊന്നുമില്ല. അന്ന് നമ്മള് വുമൺ എല്ലാം കൂടെ പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് എന്തോ ഒരു ചാപ്റ്റർ പഠിച്ചിരുന്നു. അതിനകത്ത് എന്താ
What is this then?
അമ്പോറ്റേ കുളിക്കാൻ പോടാ. അമ്പോറ്റേ
Two people are also having that. Okay.
Do you remember how students in Madam Longdown's class argued about democracy? This was in chapter 2 of class 9 textbook. It emerged from that conversation that democracy is better form of government when compared with dictatorship or any other alternatives. And there is democracy is better. Why do we feel democracy is better? Up our 4 points or made of okay, it promotes equality among citizens. It provides dignity of the individual and enhances him. It improves the quality of decision making. It allows room to correct mistakes. It provides methods to resolve conflicts. In democracy, why do we feel democracy was better than the point? First, it provides citizens.
Provides equality among citizens, enhances equality, dignity, room for correcting mistakes, and democracy. They treat everyone equally.
Equality.
Improve decision making,
quality,
and resolve conflicts.
Are these expectations realized under democracies? When we talk to people around us, most of them support democracy against other alternatives.
Wait, let me check this again. Equality. Yeah, I am telling, right? In what do you call it? Equality, dignity, problem solving. Then we have third one. Wait, let me find it out. Why can't you let me find it out? Dignity, decision making, allows room to correct mistakes. Equality, dignity, room for mistakes. Decision making.
Equality and dignity നമുക്ക് കിട്ടും. പിന്നെ നമ്മൾ കിട്ടുന്നത് room to correct mistakes,
I will
problem
get that.
solving, resolve conflicts or problems to നീ പറഞ്ഞു. പ്രോബ്ലം നിന്റെ മനസ്സിൽ കിടക്കുമ്പോൾ നിനക്ക് ഓർമ്മിക്കാം room for correcting mistakes.
For correcting mistakes I get easily.
ഏത് നമുക്ക് കിട്ടാത്ത
That improve quality of decision making and provides method to resolve conflict.
ഓക്കെ ഒരു റിസോൾവ് കോൺഫ്ലിക്റ്റ് എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് അവിടെ അതുമായിട്ട് കണക്ട് ചെയ്ത് ഡിസിഷൻ എടുക്കുന്നതിനെ പറ്റി ഒരു പ്രോബ്ലത്തിന് ഡിസിഷൻ അങ്ങനെ എന്തെങ്കിലും
Okay.
We will read further and then we will come back and read things. Are these expectations realized under democracy? When we talk to people around us, most of them support democracy against other alternatives such as rule by monarch or military or religious leaders. But not so many of them would be satisfied with democracy in practice. So we face a dilemma. Democracy is seen to be good in principle but felt to be not so good in practice. This dilemma invites us to think hard about the outcomes of democracy. Do we prefer democracy only for moral reasons, or are there any prudential reasons to support democracy too? Over 100 countries of the world today claim and practice some kind of democratic policies. They have formal constitutions, they hold elections, they have parties, and they guarantee rights to the citizens.
Constitution, parties, elections, rights of citizens.
അത് അങ്ങനെ തിങ്ക് ചെയ്താൽ മതി. ആ ഒരു വോട്ടിങ്ങിന്റെ ഇലക്ഷനെ പറ്റി തിങ്ക് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ കണക്റ്റഡ്
Constitution, parties, elections, and right to people.
Right to citizen. ആരാണ് വോട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്ന സിറ്റിസൺ? അപ്പൊ right to citizen. But these features are common to most of them. These democracies are very much different from each other in terms of their social situations, economic achievements, and their cultures. Social situation, economic achievements, and cultures. Clearly, what may be achieved or not achieved under each of these democracies will be very different. But is it something that we can expect from every democracy just because it is democracy?
No.
Oh. Our interest in and fascination for democracy often pushes us into taking a position that democracy can address all socio-economic and political problems. If some of our expectations are not met, we start blaming the idea of democracy, or we start doubting if we are living in a democracy. The first step towards thinking carefully about the outcomes of democracy is to recognize that democracy is just a form of a government. Okay, നമ്മൾ ഔട്ട്കമിനെ പറ്റി തിങ്ക് ഫസ്റ്റ് പോയിന്റ് നമുക്ക് വി മൈറ്റ് അതായത് അതിന് മുന്നേ വേണമെങ്കിൽ നിനക്ക് ഇങ്ങനെ ഒരു വലിയ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ പേപ്പർ ആണ് ഒരു 10 മാർക്ക് 5 മാർക്ക് നിനക്ക് ചവർ പോയി എഴുതണമെങ്കിൽ നിനക്ക് ഇങ്ങനെയൊക്കെ എഴുതാം. ഡെമോക്രസി നമ്മളൊരു ഡെമോക്രസി താമസിക്കുമ്പോൾ when our expectations are not met, we will feel that democracy is not good. We start blaming it. We start doubting it if we are really living in a democracy. So on the first step, when you think about democracy, the first thing that you need to understand is it is a form of a government. So this is a further important point. It can only create conditions for achieving something. Citizens have to take advantage of those conditions and achieve those goals. മനസ്സിലായോ? This is just a form of a government. It provides you conditions to achieve something. So the citizens there should work towards achieving their goals. They have to take advantage of their conditions. Let us examine some of the things we can reasonably expect from democracy and examine the record of democracy. Accountable, responsible, legitimate government. There are some things that democracy must provide. In a democracy, we are most concerned with ensuring that people will have the right to choose their rulers. People will have control over the rulers. That's the first and foremost concern in a democracy. People. അമ്പത്തി ഇതുവരെ പോയിട്ടില്ലല്ലേ? Sorry. In a democracy, we are most concerned with ensuring that people will have the right to choose their rulers and people will have to control over the rulers. Whenever possible and necessary, citizens should be able to participate in decision making that affects them all. Therefore, the most basic outcome of democracy should be that it produces a government
that's accountable
and responsive to the needs and expectation of the citizen.
Accountable, responsive for their needs and expectations.
Okay, so when we think about the outcomes of a democracy, first we need to think that the people there are given the rights to choose their rulers.
I know
And
that.
people are also participating in decision making, important decision making that affects everyone. That is the first thing. Basics of outcome of democracy is that it should produce a government that is
Accountable and responsive to the various needs of the citizens.
and expectations of citizens. Before we go into this question, we face another common question. Is democratic government efficient? Is it effective? Some people think that democracy produces less effective government. It is, of course, true that non-democratic rulers do not have to bother about deliberation in assemblies or worry about majorities and public opinion. Alle?
Yeah.
So they can be very quick and efficient in decision making and implementation. Democracy is based on the idea of deliberation and negotiation. Anshulai, what is that idea of?
Deliberation, negotiation.
So some delay is bound to take place. Does that make democratic government inefficient?
No, it does not.
ಅದೊಂದು think ಇದೆ democracy.
I know this. I learned this a million times.
Textbook.
ಈ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಪಡಿಸಿಟ್ಟಿಲ್ಲ ಈ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಅರಿಯ.
Oh, okay. Deliberation, democracy is on the idea and deliberation and
negotiation.
So there will be always a delay in decision making and implementing because it has to think a lot. പക്ഷെ ഒരു ruler പോലത്തെ ആണെങ്കിൽ he is not bothered about majorities or public opinion. So in his case, he can quickly make decision and quickly implement. But quickly implement the change of the country with a delay available, does it make democratic inefficient? Let us think in terms of cost. Imagine a government that may take decision very fast, but it may take decisions that are not accepted by the people and may therefore face problems. In contrast, democratic government will take more time to follow the procedures before arriving at a decision. But because it has followed the procedures, its decision will be both more acceptable to the people and more effective. So the cost of time the democracy pays is perhaps worth, right?
पता है माँ.
ಮಕ್ಕಳ ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಒಂದು ಬರ್ನೆ.
The reason they take so much time to come up with a what do you call it, an output or a decision is because there is a lot of deliberation and negotiation that's going on in a democracy. They have to consult each and every person. They cannot just haphazardly pass the bill or law or anything. So when there is a lot of people involved in creating a decision, coming up with a decision, then there are less chances of errors coming up. Since many people's mind is put into it together, we get more ideas and more diverse thoughts that we could not think of earlier. And also, even if it takes time, it would be an efficient one which does not fall into pieces very quickly.
Okay, it will be more acceptable among the people. ആ ഒരു പോയിന്റ് മാർക്കുന്നത് മറ്റേ കിങ് റൂളർ ആണെങ്കിൽ അയാൾ ചെയ്യുന്ന എല്ലാവർക്കും മെജോറിറ്റി തിങ്ക് ചെയ്യണ്ട അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ മെജോറിറ്റി ഓഫ് ദി ആൾക്കാർക്ക് ചിലപ്പോൾ ദേ മേ നോട്ട് ബി ആക്സെപ്റ്റിംഗ് ദാറ്റ് but quickly വരുന്നു but in this case it takes the time but it would be more acceptable and more effective, so in that case it is worth the time it takes, right?
Okay.
Now look at the other side. Democracy ensures that decision making will be based on norms and procedures. So a citizen who wants to know if a decision was taken through the correct procedures can find this out. She has to write and means to examine the process of decision making. This is known as transparency. What is transparency?
Wait. Let me see this. A citizen, wait. I have to create it to underlines for citizen. Who wants to know decision can find this out here the right to means to examine the process of it. This is known as transparency. Document transparency. Transparency is when the government has is how that law or decision was taken so that there is a transparency between the government and the citizens of the country.
Well, in the process of decision making.
Yeah.
Because citizens have the right to know how this was taken, right? Okay. This factor is often missing in a non-democratic government, the transparency. Therefore, when we are trying to find out the outcomes of democracy, it is right to expect democracy to produce a government that follows procedures and is accountable to the people. Isn't it? So when we think about outcomes of democracy, we should think that we expect a government that follows all the procedures, all the different steps, and is always accountable to the citizens. Okay? We can also expect that democratic government develops mechanism for citizens to hold the government accountable and mechanism for citizens to take part in decision making whenever they think fit. Our sentence അറിയാമോ?
Yeah. You didn't understand it, right?
എനിക്ക് അത്ര മനസ്സിലായി. നീ ഒന്ന് പറഞ്ഞേ. വേറെ sentence പറഞ്ഞേ. How did you got that I didn't understand?
ആ സെന്റൻസ് മനസ്സിലായോ? അത് മതി.
നീ പറ മക്കളെ.
We can also explain that long. The government should be held accountable for the decisions that they make, and there should be a way that the citizens can take part in the decision making whenever they wish to do so.
അപ്പൊ അത് ഡെമോക്രാറ്റിക് ഗവൺമെന്റ് ഒരു ഫീച്ചർ ആണ് അവിടെ പറയുന്നത്.
Yeah.
If you wanted to measure democracies on the basis of this expected outcome, you would look for the following practices and institutions: regular, free, fair elections, open public debate on major policies and legislations, and citizens' rights to information of the government and its functioning.
Okay, wait.
ആ points എല്ലാം ഓർമ്മ വേണം.
Okay, regular, free and fair elections, open public debate on major policies and legislations, citizens' right to information about government and its functioning. Regular, free and fair elections, open debates or talks about policies and something. Legislations, and the government to be transparent so that the people know about its functioning.
Okay, why? എന്തിനാ ഈ 3 point പറഞ്ഞേ? ഇതെന്ത് point ആണ്?
How we can follow in practices if we want to know, like measure democracy based on how the outcome is gonna be. We have to look at these 3 things mainly. But every democracy will have those 5 points we told earlier, but if you want to rank it, then.
Oh, okay. Actual performance of democracy shows a mixed record of this. Democracies have greater success in setting up regular and free elections and in setting up conditions for open public debate. അതിൽ 2 പോയിന്റും പറ്റും. Democracies have greater success in setting up elections that are fair and open, and also setting up conditions for open debates on major policies and legislations. But most democracies fall short of elections that provide a fair chance to everyone and in subjecting every decision to public debate.
You understand?
അതായത് ഡെമോക്രസിയില് സക്സസ് റേറ്റ് ഫോർ ഫ്രീ ആൻഡ് റെഗുലർ ഇലക്ഷൻസിനും കണ്ടീഷൻസ് ഫോർ ഓപ്പൺ പബ്ലിക് ഡിബേറ്റും ഹൈ ആണ്. പക്ഷേ വാട്ട് വി സീ ഈസ് മോസ്റ്റ് ഓഫ് ദി ഡെമോക്രസി ദേ ഫാൾ ഷോർട്ട്, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അവര് നെഗറ്റീവ് ആണ് അവർക്ക് വരുന്നത്. ഷോർട്ട് ഓഫ് വാട്ട്? എലക്ഷൻസ് ദാറ്റ് പ്രൊവൈഡ് എ ഫെയർ ചാൻസ്. പിന്നെ എലക്ഷൻസ് ഫെയർ ആണ്, സക്സസ് റേറ്റ് ഹൈ ആണ്, പക്ഷേ മോസ്റ്റ് ഓഫ് ദി ഡെമോക്രസി നമ്മൾ കാണുമ്പോൾ democratic government do not have a very good record when it comes to sharing information with the citizens. Or if you move top point contradict all one can say in favor of democratic regimes is that they are much better than non-democratic regime in this respect. Got it? When you think about the outcomes, you see that these governments should have fair and open elections,
remember it because it makes no sense if they contradict it in the next few lines.
Subjects and citizens' rights to information about the government. ഇതാണ് നമ്മളൊരു ഇതിനെ ജഡ്ജ് ചെയ്ത് നീ പറഞ്ഞു. പക്ഷേ ഡെമോക്രസിയിൽ സക്സസ് റേറ്റ് ഫോർ ഓൾ ദീസ് ത്രീ ആർ വെരി ഹൈ. But most of the democracies fall short in either. And also in most of the democracies are not very transparent in sharing information of their functioning with the citizen. Even then, we still conclude that democratic regime is much better than non-democratic regime. In substantive terms, it may be reasonable to expect from democracy a government that is attentive to the needs and demands of the people and is largely free of corruption. In substantive terms, നമുക്ക് ഇങ്ങനെ തിങ്ക് ചെയ്യാം. ഓക്കെ, ഇതൊക്കെ ഏകദേശം അവിടെ പൊങ്ങിന്നായിരിക്കും. നമുക്ക് ഇങ്ങനെ തിങ്ക് ചെയ്യാം, if the government is attentive to the needs of the people and also it is free of corruption. ഇപ്പൊ ഈ പോയിന്റിലേക്ക് വന്നു. The record of democracy is not impressive on these two counts. Democracies often frustrate the needs of the people and often ignore the demand of the majority in the population. The routine tales of corruption are enough to convince us that democracy is not free of this evil. At the same time, there is nothing to show that non-democracies are less corrupt and more sensitive. മനസ്സിലായോ? നമ്മളിപ്പോ another new two ideas of outcomes കൊണ്ടുവരാന്ന് വിചാരിക്കുക. അതേതാണ്? If that
they are accountable and that they are less corrupt.
To the needs and they are satisfying the needs of the people ആണോ? അങ്ങനെയാണോ നോക്കുക. പക്ഷെ നമ്മൾ നോക്കുമ്പോൾ മോസ്റ്റ് ഓഫ് ദ ഡെമോക്രസീസിലെ റെക്കോർഡ്സ് നോക്കുമ്പോൾ അവർ ലെസ് സെൻസിറ്റീവ് ടുവേർഡ്സ് ദ പീപ്പിൾ. ഈ രണ്ട് ടോപ്പിക്സിലും they are little not that very impressive. They're not fulfilling the needs of people and ignoring the demands of the majority. And also this evil like corruption is still there. But when you consider a non-democratic government,
they don't have any proof that they are less corrupt or that they are more sensitive.
You can't tell democracy is not good. There is one despite in which democratic government is certainly better. Adedana.
That is legitimate government. Legitimate means it is the people's own government. Look at the next few lines.
അതാണ് ഇമ്പോർട്ടന്റ് പോയിന്റ്. ഇഷ്ടംപോലെ പോയിന്റ് നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞു. അവിടെ എല്ലാം നമ്മൾ നെഗറ്റീവും അതേപോലെ നെഗറ്റീവായിട്ട് പറഞ്ഞിട്ടും നമ്മൾ പറയുന്ന ഡെമോക്രാറ്റിക് ആണ് സക്സസ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞത്. പക്ഷെ there is one final point which is that it is certainly better than all the alternatives. Democratic government, legitimate government. It may be slow, it may be less efficient, it not always very responsive or clean. A clean or a corruption free.
I know that.
But a democratic government is people's own government. That is why there is an overwhelming support for the idea of democracy all over the world. As an accompanying evidence from South Asia shows, the support exists in countries with democratic regimes as well as countries without democratic regimes. People wish to be ruled by a representative elected by them. They also believe that democracy is suitable for their country. Democracy's ability to generate its own support is itself an outcome that cannot be ignored. ആ സെന്റൻസ് മനസ്സിലായോ? എന്താണ് എനിക്ക് മനസ്സിലായത്? ഡെമോക്രസി
that means democracy is an idea of how a system should go on. So that idea getting its support, that itself is undeniable that it is one of the better forms of government.
In last point നമ്മൾ ഔട്ട്കമിൽ പറഞ്ഞത് government is legitimate government. That is, even though it can be very slow, it is less efficient ആവാം, corruption ഉണ്ടാവാം, people needs more sensitive അല്ലാതാകാം, പക്ഷെ still ഇത് വളരെ better ആണ് because it is people's government. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് people everywhere are supporting this form of government. And also we see that people always wish to be ruled by their representative elected by them. And they always feel that democracy is suitable for their country. മനസ്സിലായി? ഈ പോയിന്റ് എല്ലാം ഒന്ന് റിക്കളക്ട് ചെയ്യണം. അവിടെ തുടക്കത്തിൽ പറഞ്ഞത് 5 points എന്തായിരുന്നു?
Equality, dignity, decision making, free of like room for correction of mistakes, and one more point,
mistake വേറെ എന്ത് തിങ്ക് ചെയ്യണം?
I don't know.
Room for correction of mistakes. Other than അതിന് ഡിഫറെന്റ് സെന്റൻസ് ആണ് റിസോൾവിംഗ് കോൺഫ്ലിക്ട്സ്. പ്രോബ്ലത്തിന് വേറെ സെന്റൻസ് കോൺഫ്ലിക്ട്, റിസോൾവ് റൂം ഫോർ കറക്ഷന് വേറെ സെന്റൻസ് റിസോൾവ്. അത് തന്നെയാണ്. പിന്നെ നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞത് ഈ ഫോം ഓഫ് ഗവൺമെന്റിൽ elections ഉണ്ട്, there are parties ഉണ്ട്, they give rights to citizens.
Let's go to the next topic. I have this whole chapter, not a
how fast we are going. Economic growth and development. If democracies are expected to produce good government, then it is not fair to expect that they would be also produce development. Evidence shows that in practice, many democracies did not fulfill this expectation. If you consider all democracies and all dictatorship for the 50 years between 1950 and 2000, dictatorship has slightly higher rate of economic growth. The inability of democracy to achieve higher economic development worries us. But this alone cannot be a reason to reject democracy. As you are already studying in economics, economic development depends on several factors, and they can country's population, size, global situation, cooperation from other countries, economic priorities adopted by the country, etc. However, adannu parayu.
8 seconds later, and we are highlighting, highlighting.
Now we all think that a democratic government means it is a good government.
8 seconds. This one should be erased. How do you get an eraser? Select. No, I want to select that. What? Control C. Control Y. Control Y. Control Y. Control C. A box വേണ്ട. Control Y.
Okay. ഇന്ന് നമ്മൾ ഇവിടെ now we know that democracy is a best form of government.
Wait. Country's population, situation,
Country size,
cooperation, country population, global situation. Size. Oh, size is so small. Country population, size, global cooperation, and economic global situation, cooperation from other countries, economic priorities of the country, etc.
Okay. So here we think that when a good government is produced by democracy, then we expect the economic growth to a country like big country. But in 1950 to 2000, it shows that dictatorship government have higher economic rate when compared to democratic government. But there you cannot blame democratic government completely because economic development depends on all this. What are the
population, size, global situation, the interactions with other countries, and economic policies adopted by the country.
However, the difference in the rates of economic development between less developed countries where dictatorship and democracy is okay. Overall, we cannot say that democracy is a guarantee of economic development, but we can expect democracy not to lag behind the dictatorship in this respect. Manslaya. I got it. I don't know if you got it.
Yeah, got it.
Okay, so economic development in less developed dictatorship countries, countries with democracy, the economic development difference rate is very negligible. So we cannot say that democracy is not good in.
Next page.
When we find such significant difference in rates of economic growth between countries under dictatorship and democracy, it is better to prefer for democracy as it has several other positive outcomes. അടുത്ത ടോപ്പിക് ഇല്ലേ?
Illa, because there is a plus on the page that is extra for reading. A full chapter which is not there.
കൊള്ളാം. Reduction of inequality is more than development. It is reasonable to expect democracy to reduce economic development. പറഞ്ഞു അതിനേക്കാളും നമ്മൾ തിങ്ക് ചെയ്യുന്നത് reduce economic disparities. അത് കുറയ്ക്കുമോ ഡെമോക്രസി?
No, that also is a big fact. No.
ആണോ?
No. How can they control how much money each person is paying in?
But at the end, you always feel that democracy is good, right?
They are good because they give a fair and free chance to everyone. They are legitimate, they are open, they are transparent. But you cannot rely completely for a democratic government to be perfect in increasing economic development or making sure transparency, making sure economic development is there and making sure no poverty is there. India is the best democracy in the world, but is there poverty in the country? Of course.
India developing ആയിട്ടല്ലേ?
India is one of the best democracies. It's not about developed countries. We're talking about democracies.
Even when a country achieves economic growth, will wealth be distributed in such a way that all the citizens of the country will have a share?
That is not possible.
Is economic growth in democracies accompanied by increased inequalities among people, or do democracies lead to just distribution of goods and opportunities? Voice of one. Democracies are voice based on political equality. All individuals are equal weight in electing. Adinana democracy.
That is what I've been telling this whole time. Free and fair.
Political equality and democracy provided. That means everyone, irrespective of poor or rich, they have the same right in casting election. Other word വേണം, political equality.
Political equality, but not economical equality.
Parallel to the process of bringing individuals into the political arena on an equal footing, we find growing economic inequalities. A small number of ultra-rich enjoy a highly disproportionate share of wealth and incomes. Not only that, their share in the total income of the country has been increasing. Those at the bottom of the
Control-C. I don't know how to use this tool. Let's go in Haphazard. Delete. Delete it. Delete. Delete this. Take a rectangle and put around political equality. That is very important.
Not only that, a small number of ultra-rich enjoy a highly disproportionate share of wealth and income. Not only that, their share in the total income of the country has been increasing. Those at the bottom of the society has very little to depend upon. Their incomes have been declining. Sometimes they find it difficult to meet their basic needs of life, such as food, clothing, house, education, and health. മനസ്സിലായോ അത്? Rich people economically, അവരുടെ income, അവരുടെ wealth increase ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുകയാണ്. Their total income of the country increasing. Their share in the total income of the country is also. Whereas the incomes of the poor people are declining. But the basic needs they're not able to meet. Basic needs are like food, clothing, house, health, education. In actual life, democracies do not appear to be very successful in reducing economic inequalities. A word ornament. Actually,
that's what I'm telling you this whole time, right?
You told all the things, but I'm telling that when you write that all the things, don't forget to add these words in it. Economic inequality തന്നെ എഴുതണം, പിന്നെ political equality തന്നെ എഴുതണം. അതാണ് ഞാൻ ഉദ്ദേശിച്ചത്. In class 9th economics text, you have already studied about poverty in India. The poor constitute a large proportion of our voters, and no party will like to lose their votes. A democratically elected government do not appear to be as keen to address the question of poverty as you would expect them to. The situation is much worse in some other countries. In Bangladesh, more than half of its population lives in poverty.
You didn't know that?
No, people in several poor
Bangladesh is right below West Bengal, next to West Bengal.
That I know. Are now dependent on the rich countries even for food supplies. Oh. Got it. ഇവിടെ മനസ്സിലായില്ല economic inequality ഇല്ല.
Yeah.
Government wants the poor people's vote also. They don't want to lose it. But then once they are getting elected, we expect them to address this poverty issue. But nobody is very keen to do that.
Not keen. How can they?
They are, do not appear to be keen to address this question.
Because it's not possible by them.
Maybe because of the population.
Exactly.
അപ്പോൾ പിന്നെ ബാംഗ്ലാദേശിനും ആഡ് ചെയ്യാം. Accommodation of social diversity. Do democracies lead to a peaceful and harmonious life among citizens?
Yes.
It will be a fair expectation that democracy should produce social and harmonious social life. A word of the social life, harmony. We have seen in the earlier chapters how democracies accommodate various social divisions. We saw in the first chapter how Belgium has successfully negotiated differences among ethnic populations. Belgium and Sri Lanka, right? I remember that. Democracies usually develop a procedure to conduct their competition. This reduces the possibilities of these tensions become explosive or violent. Underline that. Democracies usually develop a procedure to conduct their competition. അപ്പോൾ അങ്ങനെയുള്ളത് കാരണം it reduces any possibility of tensions become explosive or violent. മനസ്സിലായോ? Did you understand that?
We have to usually develop a procedure to conduct their competition. Yeah, got it. That is why we have elections.
Okay, for everything they have a procedure which they follow. അത് കാരണം here there is a chance of reducing tensions. No society can be fully and permanently resolve conflicts among different groups. Okay, but we can certainly learn to respect those differences, and we can also evolve mechanism to negotiate the differences. Democracy is best suited to produce this outcome.
See, I told you that they can do.
What they can do?
I told that they can incorporate many different people.
Yes. Non-democratic regimes often turn a blind eye or suppress this internal social differences. A word ഓർത്തിരിക്കണം. Ability to handle social differences, division and conflicts is thus a definite plus point of democratic regime. Understood?
Wait, I need a box.
അത് correct ആണ്. How they are handling their ഒരു definite point നമ്മൾ നേരത്തെ കണ്ട they are legitimate. Another definite point we are telling is their ability to handle social differences. Because there are different groups of people. We learn to respect the differences and we are trying to bring up ways to negotiate these differences. The social differences handle ചെയ്യാനും division and conflicts കുറയ്ക്കാനും. Definite plus point of democratic regime. You know, right?
Ability to handle social division, social differences, and conflicts and divisions. Plus point. Okay. Sri Lanka.
അത് കലവലാന്ന് എഴുതാൻ അറിയാലോ.
I'll try.
ഒന്ന് think ചെയ്ത് നീ ഇതിനിപ്പം
later on thinking. Now let's move on.
But the example of Sri Lanka reminds us that democracy must fulfill two conditions in order to achieve this outcome. എന്താണ് Sri Lanka? It is necessary to understand that democracy is not simply the rule by majority opinion. Majority always need to work with the minority, so the government functions to represent the general view. Majority and minority opinions are not permanent.
That means the majority and minority community can always change what they think about a certain issue.
Okay. So the
because
government
like how did when we have a view towards an issue, it can always change based on how the things are changing around us.
Oh, yes.
That's what they say, majority and minority. There was majoritarianism policy.
Community.
Sinhala.
The majority always needs to work with the minority.
Yes.
It is also necessary that rule by majority does not become rule by majority community in terms of religion or race or linguistic group, etc. Rule by majority means that in case of every decision or in case of every election, different persons and groups may and can form a majority. Understand?
Right. Can't even highlight properly in this laptop. Rule by majority means that in case of every decision or case of election, different people
അതായത്
can form. Different people can be majority.
അതായത് നമ്മളിപ്പോ മെജോറിറ്റി വിചാരിക്കുമ്പോൾ നിങ്ങൾ ആരും വിചാരിക്കേണ്ട ആവശ്യമില്ല
അത് majority
ഒന്നുമല്ല. ഇത് ഡിഫറെന്റ് പീപ്പിൾ ആവാം, ഡിഫറെന്റ് ഗ്രൂപ്പ് ആവാം, അവരെല്ലാം ഈ മെജോറിറ്റിക്കകത്ത് വരും. So democracy remains democracy only as long as citizen has a chance to be in majority at some point of time. If someone is barred from being in the majority on the basis of their birth, then democratic rule ceases to be accommodative for that person or group.
Around here, highlighting my notes and making it look fancy. Give me a second.
ഈ ലാസ്റ്റ് നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞെന്താ, സോഷ്യൽ ഹാർമണി. ഈ ഡെമോക്രാറ്റിക് ഗവൺമെന്റ് കൊണ്ട് ആ ഒരു കൺട്രിയിൽ ഹാർമോണിയസ് ലൈഫ് അവിടുത്തെ സിറ്റിസൻസിനെ ലീഡ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും. They are having a good social life. അതായത് ഡിഫറെന്റ് പീപ്പിൾ ആർ ലിവിങ്, ഡിഫറെന്റ് തോട്ട്സ്, ഡിഫറെന്റ് ഒപ്പീനിയൻ. അപ്പൊ ഒരു കോൺഫ്ലിക്ട്സ് ഇല്ലാത്ത പീപ്പിളിനെ എല്ലാവരെയും അക്കോമഡേറ്റ് ചെയ്ത് കൊണ്ടുപോകാൻ പറ്റണം. അതിന് ഡെമോക്രസിക്ക് പറ്റുന്നുണ്ട്. Because democracy എല്ലാപ്പോഴും ഒരു കോമ്പറ്റീഷന് വേണ്ടി they have a set of procedure that they follow. So there is not much tensions are coming. And we also learn to respect their differences. We also try to negotiate their differences. And we bring in mechanism or ways to negotiate differences. Okay, then Sri Lanka 2 points നമ്മൾ എന്താ മനസ്സിലാക്കി ശ്രീലങ്കയിൽ അത് നമുക്കറിയാം. ശരിയാ, majority have to always work with the minority.
അത് മതി, ഞാൻ പോകുന്നു.
ലാസ്റ്റ് ടോപ്പിക് കഴിഞ്ഞു.
45 minutes I'm studying like this.
ഒരു പോയിന്റ് ഇവിടെ കഴിഞ്ഞു. Democracy stands much superior to any other form of government in promoting what? Dignity and freedom of the individual. Every individual wants to receive respect from the fellow beings. Often conflicts arise among individuals because some feel that they are not treated with due respect. Of course. The passion for respect and freedom are basis of democracy. Underline. Democracy throughout the world have recognized this, and at least in the principle. This has been achieved in various degrees in various democracies. For societies which have been built for long on the basis of subordination and domination, it is not a simple matter to recognize that all individuals are equal. About democracy is good in promoting equality, freedom of the individual. നമുക്കൊരു ഇക്വാലിറ്റി ഇല്ലെങ്കിൽ നമ്മൾ തമ്മിൽ അങ്ങോട്ടും ഇങ്ങോട്ടും നമ്മളെ വീട്ടിൽ തന്നെ അടിയല്ലേ.
അർജുനക്ക് ചോക്ലേറ്റ് കിട്ടി, എനിക്ക് ഹാഫ് കിട്ടിയില്ല,
വീട്ടിൽ തന്നെ. അത് തന്നെ പറയാം. So everyone needs to be treated equal. Everyone needs to be given respect. It is not a simple matter at all. To take the case of dignity of women, most societies across the world are historically male-dominated societies. Long struggles where women have created some sensitivity today that respect to and equal treatment of women are necessary ingredients of a democratic society. That does not mean that women are actually always treated with respect, but once the principle is recognized, it becomes easier for women to wage a struggle against what is now unacceptable legally and morally.
Women have worked so hard in the past that now there is something in the society that they have to be respected. But that doesn't mean that everybody is always respecting them. So that what they've created, this principle, it is easier to struggle against the unacceptable things that are legally and morally unacceptable.
Against them. In a non-democratic setup, this unacceptability would not have legal basis because the principle of individual freedom and dignity would not have legal and moral force there. The same is true in caste inequalities. Democracy in India has strengthened the claims of disadvantaged and discriminated caste for equal status and equal opportunity. There are instances still of caste-based inequalities and atrocities, but these lack the moral and legal foundations. And another.
There are many. What I understood is that there are many